How could it possibly be time to do another podcast episode? I have no idea what happened to this week, although I kind of do. I spent a lot of it editing Punta Cana videos, which I'm happy to announce that I am finally done with. Roughly 2 weeks after we got back from our trip, I finally got through all of the footage, which there is an incredible amount. I think I've probably talked about this before, but for every day that you see a video of a vacation of wherever we're at, it seems kind of crazy to even be able to say that considering where I've come from in my life. But wherever we're at in the world, if you see a video that's like, 10 to 20 minutes long, that is typically about 2 hours of actual footage that I got out in the wild, because our videos kind of follow, and I don't know why I'm telling you this because you've probably seen them. Most of you are from the vlog channel, but it's not just like I turn the camera on and I show a 10-minute chunk of whatever's happening that day. It's literally like coming along with us on a vacation, and I take great pride in that, and I love that style, but it takes an incredible amount of time to edit, so I spend a lot of my days, at least the last few weeks since we've been back, just working my way through all of this footage, and I'm happy to announce that by the time you're listening to this, the final video will actually be out. It's going to be done, and I'm excited about that. This trip, overall, I guess I'll give like a little bit of a recap here, even though you pretty much seen our whole experience, which was, some negatives and a whole lot of positives too. And that's kind of like where I'm second guessing myself a little bit, because I always share our authentic experience in trips, and usually they're all very good, But this one, there were some downsides to it, particularly like our room. The place that we had was very noisy. It was like the first room that you walk to. If you're walking pretty much anywhere there, and a lot of foot traffic, particularly at night, was a big problem. And we made videos on that. The food there, it was not very good. And I'm not even a picky dude when it comes to food, but it wasn't. Cody, she loves her food, and she was very disappointed by that. But I love the pools. I love the weather. I love the beach. The sand there was the best sand that I've ever put my feet in the world. And there were so many good things. But the videos, just like our experience, reflect the pros and the cons. And that's where I'm kind of like second guessing myself, because I don't really like to put negativity out in the world. And many of the restaurant reviews that we did, and I went there with the anticipation of actually reviewing all these various things, because when you go to a place like that where you're there for a week, there's only so much that you can show. It's not like when we went to Hawaii and every single day was something different and it's like an adventure. This is like, hey, we're going to be posted up here, just playing in the pool, having various meals, experiencing these things. Let's do reviews on each of these, and it'll also help people in the future that are trying to go there. And that's where I feel like I'm kind of saving myself here, because the videos that we made sometimes are a little negative. And I think our normal audience kind of respects that. They're like, okay, I see what you're saying. But there's some people, like, being that I've kind of marketed these videos as like honest reviews, there's some people outside our community that are finding these, which is ideally what I wanted. I wanted people to find these videos and maybe come across us and maybe like what we have to offer. And sometimes what I found from the comments from a few of these people, they really don't. They are kind of like, they're like, I had a great experience there. I went there 5 times and I never had one complaint. It's like, okay, that's fine. You had your experience. There's a lot of 5-star reviews if you go to TripAdvisor of majestic elegance in Punta Cana. But our experience was more like 3 out of 5. And when I filter the TripAdvisor reviews to just the 3s, every one of them tells our story. A nice place. Food needs work. Every one of them comments on the food. The room situation, once we got that fixed, that was good to go. So that was just on us. And I learned an important lesson there, and that's that you really do need to speak up if there's a problem. Speak up early, or if you're really doing your job, in advance, ask for a quiet space if that's important to you, or whatever's important to you, because ultimately these places exist, I think, to make you happy. That's what they want. They want happy customers. And we're the type that we don't really speak up. Even like the night that we had the worst food that we've ever had at any restaurant. I don't know if I'd go that far, although it was almost inedible. So yeah, I would say it was pretty bad. We didn't even speak up there. We just kind of left, and we should probably speak up more. And these videos are kind of like me speaking up, I guess, like showing what an honest review of a place is like. Because so much of social media, and I'm sure you've seen this, especially if you've been on Instagram or anywhere, I suppose, everyone wants to paint themselves and their situation in the best light possible, even if that's not reality. And the reviews that I've seen are often that, like, they've got the music like little background music playing, and they're showing all this great stuff. And it's like, that's not actually what it's like. Think of it like when you see a commercial for Big Mac and how amazing it looks, and it's all stacked up real nice and it looks like the most appetizing thing ever. That's what people try to portray on the internet. And then my review or advertisement is the actual thing you get when you open the wrapper, and it's sitting in there, and it's like the cheese isn't melted, it's all smashed down, the lettuce fell out, it was made with no love. Those are our Punta Cana videos. And for me, if I was a person that was potentially thinking about going to a place like that, I don't want to see your advertisement. I want to see a real experience. And that's what ours are. And that's why I stand by them. Even if some people are coming through now that are like, oh, you guys are nitpicky. And it's like, well, this is like a trip that we planned to go to. Obviously, we went there because we got a good deal. And sometimes you could say you get what you pay for. There are examples there where you can spend some extra money to get to be in like the adult side, which is like the club level, and you get a personal butler. And I think some of the reviews that I see are coming from that, because they were always like talking about their butler they had. And I wouldn't even want that, because I just want to have my own experience. And that's what this trip ultimately taught me. I don't see us ever going to an all-inclusive resort ever again. Not that it was so bad that like it turned us off, but if I compare our Hawaii trip, where it was a thing that we planned out and we created our own adventure and we picked out the restaurants and we had all these options and we made every day exactly what we wanted it to be, I like that so much more, not only from like a content standpoint because it's exciting doing all those crazy things, but also just from an experience standpoint, because once you go to an all-inclusive place, very much like a cruise, I imagine. I've never been on a cruise, but this pretty much told me that I wouldn't like that at all. You're just kind of there, and you're I wouldn't say you're a hostage of the place, but it's like the experience you're going to have is very much limited to what they have there. And I'm sure there's some resorts that are absolutely incredible. And by the reviews, this place that we went to seemed like it would be that, but in our experience, it really wasn't. And it could just be we're not compatible with that. And that's fine. And everyone has a different experience. I think if you had gone there, 30 times in the last 30 years and you've never had a bad experience, that's wonderful, but that doesn't discount the experience that I had, because that's how I felt. And we all have problems. That's why I have an issue with people saying, oh, that's a first world problem. Just because you have a problem that is unique to you. Like say you dropped your phone and it broke on the sidewalk and you're like, oh, my phone's broken. Well, that's a first world problem, right? There's other people in the world that aren't eating today. That doesn't mean that you're not still upset or having a bad experience because your phone dropped. You live in that world. That is your reality. So like, I don't like to say that, and I don't like to discount people's feelings, because we all have feelings and they're all valid, regardless of whether it's a good or bad thing, or if it's inconsequential to every other person on this planet. But if it's real to you, it's real. So that's ultimately how I feel about our trip there. I don't regret going there. It was an experience to have. I haven't not been to an all-inclusive trips or vacation like this since 2010, when we did like a wedding moon type thing in Jamaica. And I imagine if I were to go back there now, and that was like the first time I've ever really traveled. I grew up, my family didn't have any money. My parents never did anything. So like when you guys see us doing all this stuff this year, this is literally us living our bucket list. This is our only chance. This is Cody taking a year off, us pulling Clarkman out of school in some cases. This trip was no days missed, luckily, because it was Easter or spring break. But this is like us living our best life now while we can. Because I've lived my life so long putting off gratification later. Always being a planner. Always like putting dessert off. Like I had this... I'm realizing I'm saying like a lot. I noticed that in the last episode. No filler words, guys. I had an economics professor once that said, life's short, eat dessert first. And I've never been an eat dessert first person. I'll sit there and I'll eat every vegetable on my plate. This isn't what I actually do, but like this is a metaphor for life. I'll eat all the vegetables that I can take, because I know someday I'm going to get to enjoy that dessert, and I'm willing to work as hard as I can to eat that dessert someday. But what I've learned from COVID and things that are happening in the world is that there is no guarantee that someday you'll be able to eat that dessert. You might have that dessert sitting on the counter over, like literally looking at it and be like, man, there's a giant chocolate cake there with chocolate icing, my favorite thing. And you know what? One of these days, I see it sitting there. One of these days, I'm going to go over there and take a giant slice of that, and I'm going to eat it. You know what I've decided in the last few years? No, I'm going to go eat that freaking cake right now. I'm going to enjoy that cake, because this is life. This is the life that I'm living. No guarantees. I know I bring this up, and this is kind of a sad thing, and but reality. My dad died at 55 years old. And I sometimes try to put myself in my dad's shoes. Had he known that he was going to make it to 55, what decisions would he have made at 38 years old that would have been different than the decisions that he actually made? And I try to live my life like that. I saw a TikTok video this week that kind of was that same sentiment. It was like, if you talk to yourself 30 years from now, what would that person that's 30 years older want you to do today? What life would they want you to live? Would they want you to put that dessert off? Maybe they never even got to eat the dessert. So that's kind of where I'm at on things. And, there is some judgment, I suppose, from people as well. And I shouldn't let these things get to me, but people see us going on these trips and they're like, oh, it must be nice. And there was one comment that was like, oh, this is how YouTubers spend their money. Dude, I have saved for so long for these moments. This is like my retirement. We're literally retiring this year, not officially, but this is what retirement was like. And I had a buddy that I used to work with that every year he went on a cruise. It was like his thing. He loved the all-inclusive lifestyle. And he would talk about how there were all these really old people on the cruise ship that really couldn't do much or enjoy the experience. Maybe they were the people that had that chocolate cake that was sitting there and they're finally taking a bite of it at 70 years old. And they can't even go out and enjoy it. So I'm enjoying it now, the best that I can. We're living it up. Next year, things kind of return to normal, and I'm okay with that. We got these experiences. Clark is the perfect age to enjoy all of this stuff with us. And why would I not want to do this when he's young? Once he gets a little bit older or once he's moved out, it's just going to be the two of us, and I want to have these family experiences. So for anyone and I don't think it's anybody that watches this and listens to this, because you're the people that I think truly get me. If you've listened to these episodes, you're probably on my team, I suppose. But that would be my message to anybody out there that would judge us harshly, And it's the most frustrating thing, I guess, if we're going down this rabbit hole, is like, we don't try to flex it on people. We don't brag. We're not like throwing it in people's faces. We're just having an experience. It just happens to be something that we document and share, and maybe that's where we go wrong. But I feel like there's a lot of positivity, even though there is some negativity, at least in the Punta Cana videos. I feel like there's a lot that could come from this that can encourage other people or inspire people, or just at the very least give you a review, an honest review of an experience or restaurant or a vacation that we had. And that's all I'll say about that. We're moving on to the next thing. And this week, pretty big things, actually. We got some new seasons starting. First of all, yard sale season is back, baby. It's finally happened. My father-in-law went out, and mother-in-law went out a week ago. Last week, I had strep throat, which now is much better. I took amoxicillin. Things are improved there, so I'm happy about that. I didn't want to go out with them, though, in the rare event that I were to get them sick. That doesn't seem like the responsible thing to do, to hop in their car and be like, hey, let's go yard sailing, I'm coughing all over you, and then everybody gets strep throat, and it's all my fault. So I sat that one out. My father-in-law did find a Lego yard sale score for me that I have to edit the video up. I'm behind. I've got all kinds of things. I still haven't got the Mario movie video out. That's like the next one. Also, the Easter Bunny stopped in while we were away in Punta Cana. I just saw the footage of that today. I was like, that's right. So I got a whole bunch of things to put out. But yard sale season's back, and this week with my newfound health, I was able to go out with my father-in-law on Friday, which isn't the greatest day to go out, but on Saturday he was occupied because him and my mother-in-law are helping one of their friends move. So I was like, all right, let's go out Friday. Didn't have much success. I did find 50 cents worth of Lego. It was just a little poly bag. And then I spent, I think, about $10 outside of that on miscellaneous things that I'm going to list on eBay to then sell to inflate my PayPal balance, because this year I've committed that I'm not spending any money on Lego outside of what I'm able to sell on eBay. This is a thing to hold me accountable and encourage me to list things on eBay and get rid of things I'm not using, essentially trading things that I don't have value in or find use in for things that I do in the world of Lego. So I'm not heartbroken that I didn't find a bunch of Lego, because there were things that I found and I got good deals on that hopefully once they sell, I can turn into a profit that turns into stuff that I can buy. And I like the process. It's kind of fun on the hunt, not just hunting for one thing, but like kind of keeping your eyes open. I filmed the whole thing, and I have this feeling in my mind that there's people that are going to see things. It's like, Greg, you just passed on a Pablo Picasso painting that's worth millions of dollars. What happened? And I sometimes do that in my videos myself. Like I'll have the camera kind of scan it over. I'm like, wait, why didn't I grab that thing? I totally missed that. So you just got to be careful, but I'm trying my best to kind of document it and be there. And then there's always like people that are set up, and it's weird when you're like actually filming their stuff. So I'm trying to do it on like the sneaky sneak with my cell phone. But I enjoy yard sailing. It's like my favorite thing of the year. My father-in-law gets such a kick out of it, and he loves just the prospect of potentially finding Lego because he knows how excited I get about it. So he's all about that life. He's my driver. I'm the filmer, and I document our experience, and it's fun to share that. So I'm in 1 week. We got lots more to go. I'm hoping to be able to catch all of the yard sales that are coming up here in the spring and into the summer. And hopefully I can find some really great stuff to not only share on my Lego channel, ideally, but maybe some things that indirectly I can buy and then sell and turn into Lego things that I can share. So ultimately it all comes back to Lego, but I'm having fun with it. And I think it's good to have hobbies like that. So that's one season that's starting, right? And now we have another season as well, and that's RC season. I've been people asking for months, like, Greg, when are you, Clark, getting back into running RCs? And in fact, I think there was a comment on this last episode in listener feedback, which we'll be getting into, that was talking about like, hey, you guys make some RC videos for me and my son. We do RC. So yeah, we're getting back into it. In fact, encouraged by this email that I got. I oftentimes get emails sent to me because my email is listed on the Greg's World channel. And I get emails sent to me all the time from like promoters, I guess. And usually they start out like, dear YouTuber, we would like to advertise our new game, our mobile iOS game or whatever, and would like you to be a part of it. And I just send those things right to spam, where it's like, how would you like to 3x your views? And I'm like, nope. But this one in particular, it was like, hi, Greg, this is so-and-so from, I think it was Bezgar, I think is the company, that it's an RC brand, not a wildly popular one. It's like a Chinese brand on Amazon, right? But they actually wrote in there, they're like, I noticed that you do a lot of vlogs with your wife and son, but you also do RC videos, and we were wondering if you'd be interested in reviewing one of our RC trucks. And it was like personal enough, and I looked at the name of the person, and they had like their Twitter listed and Instagram, and the company was legit, and the email was legit and stuff, like the email address. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of nice that they may have actually looked at my content. So what I emailed them back and I said, yeah, sure, we're always into getting into new RC stuff. Little does she know, we run them pretty hard, but we're gonna, we do proper tests at the skate park, 15 feet in the air as the truck comes crashing down. That'd be a cool cut to make right now. But I was like, yeah, we'll totally be down with that. And she's like, okay, what's your address? And I gave it to her, and lo and behold, yesterday, on our doorstep in the middle of a downpour, was this RC truck. So we're going to be getting into that today, actually. So today is officially the first day of RC season. I was looking around at other RCs too, and the algorithm guides showed this RC that was on sale. It was like, I think like 40% off, 30% off, something like that. And I looked at the reviews and they're pretty good. And then I noticed that it's not only available through, I think it's Horizon Hobby, but also on Amazon. And we have the Amazon credit card where you get 5% off. So I'd even get more off on that. And I'm like, always getting new trucks and trying things out is a lot of fun. And I have, I've got all of the infrastructure. I've got tons of batteries. I've got the charger. So all I really need is the car and the controller, receiver, transmitter, I think is what it is. I call it the controller. But yeah, we're getting back into RC season. I'm thinking about getting some ramps. We've got lots of places to go. In fact, we're going to Outer Banks this year, by the way. That's probably going to be our next big trip. And I plan to do some more RCing at the beach. And I know some of you probably saw the video where I ran my truck into the ocean because this girl came out of nowhere, and instead of hitting her, I took it towards the wave and it went bad. But I think we're going to be a little more careful this year. So I'm going to be taking some RCs with me. I think it's a great opportunity to make some videos in a location that's different from what we're typically in. I don't get to ride in sand very much or drive in sand. And I feel like in Outer Banks, you can take your drone there and it wouldn't be a problem because it's so it's not like Ocean City where there's tons of people. It's just kind of us. So I was going to take my drone, maybe fly something else, maybe fly my RC plane. I have a feeling that's going to end up in the ocean though. So that might not be the best idea. Although that could be a really good video. If I just commit this thing's going to not make it back with us, and I'm okay with that, which I'm not really because I love all my RC stuff. And we've saved some of the old RC things too that we've kind of busted and crashed, and you just never know what could come up in a video. So Clark's hyped on this, of course, because he loves doing RCs as much as I do. So we're getting back into that. So it feels good. The weather's kind of turning around. We've had some 80-degree days this week. It feels like we came back and it was as warm here as it was in Punta Cana. And I'm just hyped because everything is greening up outside. All the trees are in bloom now. and RC season's here. Yard sale season's here. It feels like everything's coming together. I've got the Punta Cana videos done. Like this next week should be a great week for me, and going forward should be as well. In other news outside, I guess I should say, I also planted, I think, about 100,000 wildflower seeds along our like fence row here. I did it last year, and it turned out really beautifully. It's one of those things that you kind of just rip open a bag, sprinkle them all over, you set it, forget it, and months later you just have all these beautiful flowers, and I love seeing that. So I had some left over, and I planted all those. My goal is to find some perennial seeds, because I think I only planted like 1 pack of perennials last year. Perennials mean it comes back every single year. So if I could plant a whole bunch of those, and then they just keep growing back over and over, that'd be great. I also got I think last year I had this butterfly mix. I don't know if there's much overlap between the RC crowd and the attracting butterflies through wildflowers crowd, but I'm a Renaissance man, I suppose. And I want to plant more of those too, because we had some beautiful like butterflies just floating around out there, and it was just like made my day. So that's happening. The garden is going to be happening as well. I'm going to try to get that planted in the beginning of May. We're going to be getting some mushroom soil from one of the local stone quarries that's nearby. They sell like various mulches and soils and stuff, and my father-in-law swears by this. So we're going to get that out there. I already have my seeds started. The plants are doing great. Every single thing that Clark and I planted has grown in a cup. So we're going to be planting a whole bunch of that. I have some raspberry plants that I still need to get in the ground. We got those at Sam's Club, but I've been waiting because I have this fear that I'm going to put those in and then there's going to be a frost. So I feel like once May hits, we're usually in the clear of frost, although it can happen on occasion. So I'm going to wait just a little bit before I put those in, and then I'll have 2 raspberry plants too. Which I'm excited for. Our strawberries are already growing out in the garden. They keep coming back year after year, and they're flowering already. So I'm hyped, dude. Like all these things are kind of coming together, and that's kind of what I feel like right now. Other than that, this week, being that the weather is getting better, we did some walking with the Roxy bear, try to get her out as much as possible. Again, just like the dessert thing that I was talking about earlier, like enjoying the moment now. I think about that oftentimes with Roxy bear, because she's going to be 12 years old next month. Less than a month, actually. And it's like, I need to cherish every one of these days that I have with her. And if I could keep her out walking, and she does great. She's fantastic out there. I feel like they really have it dialed in with her. She's on arthritis meds called Galliprant. And I feel like she's just been thriving. So get her out there walking. I need it. She needs it. Particularly me, because I've been struggling. I've been struggling with the weight loss since Punta Cana. I, one day this week, registered under 170 pounds. And I'm just like trying to get back down. I told you I was like at 177 when we came back from our trip. I put on like 7 pounds. I was working that off. And only one day I was able to get under 170. So I'm hoping next week when I talk to you, I'm permanently under 170. I'm going to bust it this week trying to get down there. And I need to just keep moving. I've kind of hit like a roadblock here, and it's a mental one too. But I have like 10 more pounds I want to lose. And something really awesome happened this week. We were at Clark Man's Spring Fling. It's like a little dance thing that they have at the school. And one of our friends, who I haven't seen since like summertime, came over, and she's like, you lost some weight. I'm like, did I? And I was like, yeah, I guess I did. Like, I don't notice it. It's not, I was, fully clothed, believe it or not, at the elementary school, but she noticed, and that like made me like that one little thing made me so happy. It's like you don't really notice the work that you put in. You don't notice a whole lot of difference. At least I don't. But the fact that she noticed that after not seeing me since summertime, I have lost. I mean, at my current weight, I've lost like 17 pounds since then. So I guess that makes a difference in your face. You lose all your chins and stuff. So that like really encouraged me, and that made me want to keep going. I was like, oh, if you only saw what I've been doing lately at Punta Cana, just dominating all of the buffets and things there. But we're back, kind of getting back into the flow of things, getting back into these new seasons. It feels good. The new seasons of life. And I'm just trying to soak it all in. I'm documenting it for you guys, of course. I don't have a whole lot of game attacked and watch attacked. I didn't do like any gaming this week, except I played a little bit NBA 2K23. That's kind of just shut my brain off and play a little bit. I'm doing the Jordan challenges on there, where you relive some of Michael Jordan's greatest games, and I find that fun from a historical standpoint. In terms of rabbit holes, TikTok has been thriving in my life. I get so much value from TikTok, and I think I've talked about this before. Uh, just the random videos that they show me, and then I'll deep dive into that. And oftentimes, and this is like a true sign of a rabbit hole success, I'll leave TikTok to go to Google and check out more about that subject matter. And I'm like, dude, it opens up your mind. And I feel like YouTube fails me in that regard. YouTube serves me kind of like the same videos over and over again on like my homepage, right? And most times I'm just left dissatisfied. I'm just like, nah, nothing to watch. Whereas TikTok, they instantly give it to you and you decide whether you want that or not, or if you want more of that. And they get really good at deciding or determining who you are and what type of person you are and what you want to learn about. And that can be good or bad. You know, TikTok ultimately, if you want to complain about it, it ultimately is a reflection of you. So if you don't like what you're getting on there, if you're getting like just cats jumping up and down endlessly, which I'm sure there's a whole TikTok audience of that, that's what you like. That's what you spend your time on. And I do get suckered in by the cute animal videos. And I've been getting into like reptiles, little turtles. This lady had turtles and a gecko. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I did get into one thing that makes me so freaking sad. This dog shelter makes videos of these dogs and they're like, this is so-and-so. And if he's not picked up by a certain time on a certain date, they're going to be putting him down. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to drive to Tennessee. Or I think it was like in Houston, Texas. I'm like, get in the car. We got to go rescue this dog. I can't see this dog get put down. It'd be very dangerous. So if I lived in that area. So there's some of that, but I don't know. I just go in these deep dives. I need to start writing them down because I'd like to share those with you. I think last week I shared the Iceman, the 5,300-year-old mummy that they found, and all the information and data they're able to extract from that. And it was like a huge deep dive that I went down. So there's all these other things that I come across, but I need to do a better job of documenting them because by the end of the week, I'm just like, oh yeah, I saw like 30,000 things and I remember none of them, but it's always getting my brain moving. Other social media things, I think I'm quitting Reddit. Reddit used to be like one of my favorite places, but I look at the popular page and I can't resist. And all it is just negativity. And it's like politics. It's like wars. It's the reality, I guess, of what's happening in the world. But sometimes I just want to be ignorant. I just want to be ignorant of those things and just not have that be a part of my life. So I'm just like, would my life be better or worse if I didn't look at this stuff? And I want to say it'd be better. So I think I'm going to just delete that off my phone. I also got rid of HBO Max finally this week. I made the decision. I'm like, I'm done. They were talking about, and I think they already did it. They raised the price to $16 per month. And I looked at the selection on there and I'm just like, this isn't worth it for me. I was like, if I really want to watch something, I'll just go to Netflix if they have anything, or if there's like a movie that I really want to watch. We have Disney Plus as well. I'll just rent it. I'll rent it from Apple or Amazon or whatever, and it'll cost $3.99. What I've been doing lately, and this is kind of a cool thing you can do. If you have Amazon, I don't know if it's Amazon Prime or just Amazon in general, but if you have an item that you went to order, sometimes they'll give you an incentive to have it take a little bit extra time. Like instead of it being delivered on Tuesday, if you're willing to wait until Wednesday or Thursday, they'll give you a credit of like $1 or $2 that you can use towards a video rental. So I'm like, dude, there's no hurry. I'm okay with that. And then I've been using that money to rent videos and stuff or movies. So that's a cool thing. I am considering getting rid of Amazon Prime. I have like 9 months left on my subscription, but I think about it and I'm like, I'm not really using this for anything other than the shipping. And I'm not really in a hurry. Like if I don't need something in 2 days, that's not that big of a deal. Usually I'm planning things out. It's not like, oh, so-and-so has a birthday party on Saturday. It's Thursday. I need that thing right now. No, let it wait. That's the only advantage that I see from it. I don't use their music. I don't really even watch the videos like on Prime Video. There's nothing else that I use it for. And it's like the most expensive of all of the services. So why not cut it? And I'm like really trying to dial things in because it's like, what value are you getting from these? So I'm trying to do my best with that. We still have Disney and Netflix. I don't see us leaving those. We consider leaving Netflix, I suppose. But Disney Plus is still a great deal. I did watch a video. This was a deep dive I did last night. I watched a video on all of the streaming services and how there was like a golden age of streaming where it was just Netflix and then all these other companies came in to battle and then all the prices started going up because they're all competing and trying to make their own original content and they're all losing money and who knows what's going to come of it. But It's a war zone out there, and I knew it's too good to be true. Like when Disney Plus came out at $8 a month, with all that amazing content, including the whole Disney Vault, which has been cracked open and all of that stuff's on there. I'm just like, this is too good to be true. Like this should be $20 a month. And I still think that'd be fair. Don't tell them that. I've talked about this before. Don't let Bob Iger find out. But the theory of this video towards the end is that that is what's going to happen. Like they're going to have to raise prices. And eventually all of the streaming services are going to be as expensive, if not more expensive than cable television. In fact, he was talking about how many of these services are beginning to introduce an ad version that's a little bit cheaper. So eventually we're just going to end up right back where cable is. And I'm sure somebody's going to come together and they'll package these all together, just like their channels on TV. And then they'll give you a discount and it's just like what we tried to get out of. It just the natural way of things. You go back into that where you have channels, you've got commercials, you've got a big payment to make where it's all bundled together. And maybe you don't even have a choice of what is bundled. That's cable in a nutshell, and that's what we're trying to get away from. For me, I think I would just end up cutting the cord entirely. There's just too much content on YouTube and TikTok that I find appealing. In fact, that's what kind of keeps me from watching movies and television in general is I just like content that's served to my interests, that's short form, that I can get into. I don't really care to watch a drama or to watch 800 seasons of this show, and I know it's kind of fun. They take you down like this whole storyline and stuff, and you get to know the characters, and this and that happens. But sometimes I just don't want that commitment. So I don't know. Well, I'll keep reporting back on my journey in streaming and the things I watch. I'll try to do a better job of documenting it so I can share interesting things here that maybe send you down a rabbit hole as well that you didn't know you needed to go down out of my algorithm. So yeah, if you have anything, let me know. I'd like to make the rabbit hole a weekly segment here where we like kind of go back and forth on this. But that's like pretty much my whole week. I did have one shower thought. It's what they call it in Reddit, where you come up with like a crazy idea or you think about something. And that was like an improvement series where I take something in my house and I try to make it better. Like I got this idea because what was I doing the other day? Oh, my gas can had like the little thing that goes over the nozzle. It had like a piece of like electrical tape wrapped around it. I got this from my father-in-law and it's been dangling there. And I was like, I'm tired of that. So I got my Gorilla Tape, which I live by. And I took that off and I wrapped the Gorilla Tape around. And I was like, oh, that was cool. That looks better. And I'm like, I should just do like a little series where I do a bunch of these little things. It would be like, I don't know if it'd be YouTube short or what it would be. Probably just like something I share in a vlog. But all the little improvements that I can make around my house to make my life better. I thought that'd be kind of a fun thing to do. That's the extent of my genius ideas for the week, though. Again, this week it just blew past. I still can't believe it's Sunday. I'm literally recording this just hours before it goes out. It's been a whirlwind, and I still have lots of content of things that I need to edit. So editing will continue, but kind of getting settled back in. It's certainly not 2 hours worth every single day. And to get through 2 hours worth of content takes way more than 2 hours, believe it or not. So on that, let's get into listener feedback here. This is from DB Bricks. He says, this is back related to the Punta Cana trip. He says, I've been devastated if my holiday had as many issues as Punta Cana seemed to have. I guess for you, given you're lucky enough to be able to travel to all sorts of amazing places several times a year. And heck, if you have the money to do so, why not? It's something that'll be quickly forgotten. For me, a trip to the Caribbean would have been the holiday of a lifetime and to not experience and not an experience that I would be able to put behind me. Out of curiosity, did you look at Majestic's Google reviews after your disappointing restaurant vlog? And the vast majority are 5-star. Was there anything there that even came close to justifying that? Yeah, I'll address all parts of this. I agree with you. Like this trip, I thought about that too. Like some people, this is the only trip that maybe they get to go on for years. And I was like, man. And I don't know if maybe we've just been spoiled because we've had so many good trips. I just think that if this was the only one, this is not how I would have wanted to spend that money. I would have put that towards something else. I can't put it past or behind me because we've had a lot of amazing experiences, and this was the only one outside of Ocean City last fall where like there was a tropical storm off the coast that kind of devastated the weather that week. Every other trip we've been on has been fantastic. I've had nothing but amazing times and great memories to be had. And even in this one, once we got our room changed, and if you kind of just put the food behind you, it was a great trip. So for me, it was ultimately worth it. I come away with way more good memories than bad ones. And for me, that's just a part of the storyline. And it's something that we can talk about 10 years from now. Remember when we stayed in Punta Cana that one time, and then all the drunks were going past our door at 2:00, and then we got our room changed. But like, what I remember is playing in the pool with Clark, man, going to the beach, touching that like just powdery, like flour like sand, going down all the slides like crazy. That kind of stuff is what I walk away with. I don't focus on the negative. It was a part of our journey, but it wasn't what I'm going to take away from it. As far as the 5-star reviews, absolutely, I can see people leaving 5 stars because you could have had a whole different experience with us. Maybe you're not a food person. Maybe it's like, hey, I don't even care. I'm just happy to be here. And I thought about that one time when we were in Jamaica. There was a lady complaining. Like, I was waiting for Cody. We're about to get married. And there's this lady just like barking and like complaining. And I was like, how can you be on vacation and not be absolutely 100% happy? And maybe I have turned into that with this trip, you know? But I feel like my issues were valid. Maybe she felt like hers were too. Maybe I've just become like a travel snob. But I don't think so. I just think this wasn't the proper fit for us. I think I'm much better off going to like a more quiet place where it's kind of just us on our own, creating our own adventure, like I talked about, like the Hawaii trip. That was the pinnacle of travel. The UK trip, same situation. Like we made that what we wanted it to be. And the only person you have to blame for that is yourself. But everything, maybe we just got lucky, but everything's been amazing. My review of this place, definitely 3 stars. And again, if you go on TripAdvisor, you look at the 3 stars, they all say the same exact things that we have. And it kind of like in this experience of seeing how many people have rated this like 5 out of 5, it really makes me wonder how much you can rely on reviews. Because I feel like truly the only people that leave reviews are people that really have an incredible experience or review, or if you have a really bad one. The 3 stars are the ones, though, I feel like are the real deal. So that's what I'm going to start looking at. Like, okay, you didn't love it, you didn't hate it. Why? What is your story? Those ones tell the truth. 1 star is just negative Nance, like, oh, this. Okay, it wasn't 1 star. 5 stars, like, you can't complain about the food in your 5-star review. And I saw some people like that. That's not 5 stars if you're complaining about anything. That's like, there's no better. And for some people, that's their experience. And like I said in the beginning, I'm not going to take your experience away from you. Your experience is your experience, right? So that's how I find it. But I would not rate that at 5. I'm thinking like 3 to 4 would be very fair. Cyber says, I've been liking the Punta Cana videos. He is also enjoying Cody's channel on nutrition. She's been doing a little channel. In fact, she had a video come out yesterday. If you guys want to watch it on Cody's Convos, you can find it at youtube.com/Cody's Convos. He says, I can't wait to see more of your garden and what you end up with. Looking forward to your RC videos and camping videos you have done in last year's. I hope you do them again this year. Absolutely. In fact, this is what this podcast is about. Talking about getting back into the old seasons here. I hope you share some of the moments around the campfire, and hopefully you'll get into fishing again. I think you and Clark can make something out of it. Dude, Clark, man, loves to fish. My father-in-law is a fisherman. I'm getting my license. We're going to go fishing this year. I don't really care necessarily about catching fish. Like, I'm not there to be like, oh, I got to reel this in. I just enjoy being out there with my family and enjoying the sights. I'd be just as happy just walking along the creek or sitting by the creek. But it is kind of fun to like casting out and you're reeling in. I enjoy the action and then catching a fish. But ultimately, I don't really want to hurt the fish. And I'm anxious just to get him back in the water after I catch him, because I'm not there for the food or to pull these fish out of the water. I just want you to go live your life again. So maybe that's mean to hook them. And Cody thinks that. She's like, well, you're putting a hook in him. And I'm like, I know, but I think it's okay. I don't know for sure. I need to go down that TikTok rabbit hole. He says, try to find a place that rents a boat on a small lake and spend the day fishing. Would make a great video. And I think if you guys catch something, it would be a memorable experience for you both. But whatever you do this spring and summer, I will watch it. I'm sure I'll enjoy it. I hope so. I have a kayak. My father-in-law says I should get that rigged up to be like a fishing kayak. But I just like what my kayaking trip or experience isn't necessarily fishing from it. It's just putting a podcast in and going out and paddling and having that experience and looking around at the beauty of nature. That's kind of what my ideal kayaking situation would be, on the lake. And I think I'm going to make a video about that. I don't know how interesting that'll be to watch for you, but it'll be interesting for me to be there. Next one comes from Codex. He says, enjoying all the vacation videos. We also saw the Mario movie as a family. How lucky to have the theater to yourselves. What a memory, dude. It was really cool. And Speedy follows up with that, says, I love it when I'm able to catch a movie in a theater with just myself or a group. In college, I went with my roommates during a massive snowstorm in Massachusetts to see the first viewing of Lego Batman. It was just the three of us, and it was definitely a highlight. See, those experiences there, you're going to remember that, right? Like the snowstorm in Massachusetts, going to see Lego Batman. Like that is an experience, man. And that's why I'm glad that we got to do that. Even if it wasn't just by ourselves, it's like going together as a family and seeing a movie, especially in these days where we don't really go to the movies that often. Last time we went was to see the new Avatar movie in 3D. And before that, I think it was probably the Sonic movie back about a year ago. So that's about how many times you've been in the movie theater, which gets me a little worried about theaters. Ashley, she kind of talks about this in her comments, is enjoyed the podcast. I think every vacation tells a story, whether it's great or not. I love that. That's what I should have said. I think every experience is worth it. We also saw Mario and loved it. It was $34 for the two of us, which just seems so bizarre to me. But I'm with you. Totally worth the experience. I don't think movie theaters are going to be around in the future. That's a lot of money. Yeah, for two people. And you think about how expensive everything else is in your life, you know, gas, groceries, just living is expensive, I suppose. We watched a 3D movie, three of us, and then we got a popcorn and two drinks, and that was like $66. That's a lot of money. Whereas, you know, you could wait a couple months, watch it when it comes out on streaming on your $10 or whatever Disney Plus is these days. It won't be on Disney Plus. Netflix, whatever. Or you can just buy the movie outright for $20 or $30 way later, then watch it a million times in a row. But there's that experience. It's the same reason I love arcades. I could sit here all day and play Nintendo. It's something different when you go into an arcade and you're like inside a machine shooting velociraptors inside the Jurassic Park video game. You know what I mean? The experience is worth the cost. It's expensive, but the experience is what it's about. It's like eating that chocolate cake that's sitting off on the counter. You could be like, well, you know, instead of having that chocolate cake, I'll just eat this little piece of Hershey's chocolate. And it gives me a taste of chocolate, and it's way cheaper, and it's fine. Sometimes you got to grab that friggin' cake. Keeps coming back to the cake, right? Thank you for the comment. Thank you, everyone, for the comments. We have a couple more here, though. This is from Aussie Guy. He says, great podcast. Tip for the day is when you're playing Mario 3D, make sure you collect the green stars as you go. I've been enjoying going back and collecting all those. There's some that we miss, and I like make it my purpose to find these 3 green stars that are in each of these levels. The other thing, let's see, I almost finished the game and I have to go back again and collect stars to get into the harder levels. I figured that's what they were leaning towards. The other thing that might interest you is we have a podcast in Australia called How Other Dad's Dad with Hamish Blake. It's done by our Australia Lego Master presenter. Could give you some interesting content, as I'm interested to see how you dad with Clark. I love that guy. Hamish is the reason that Lego Masters Australia destroys Lego Masters US. Sorry, Will, but I love the cast of the Australian Lego Masters, and I need to find a new season. I think they filmed one last year around this time. We usually watch them on Tubi. I need to go see if we can find it, because we get so much joy out of watching those darn Lego Masters shows. It's unbelievable. So Australian one is incredible. I love to listen to his podcast. So I'm going to do a little search for that. And I'm always looking for new podcasts. So thank you for sharing that, Aussie Guy. David comments. He says, your movie experience would have been amazing. Clark man will remember that forever. Trip advice that I will remember to ask for a quiet room. Yes, thanks for that one. Garden advice. We use a hose timer and a sprinkler for when we travel for a few days. I've considered that. The only issue is we have people that come to mow our grass because of the doom drop out there. And I would love to run, just have the hose laying out there and running to like the garden. I could totally do that. But I'm worried that they're going to come and then they may not see the hose, or like I don't want to have to make them have to move the hose or take care of it. So that would be the only issue. Luckily, I have my mother and father-in-law who are willing to come over, make sure the chickions are okay, and make sure Mellow Cat has food, and also take care of my garden while they're taking care of my dog. I'm very thankful to have them, very much. David says, I listen to Apple Podcasts while walking my dog, but when I come home, I have a chance, I will comment here. Another great podcast. Great. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you for taking time to comment. I listen to Ronnie's podcast, who's going to be a commenter coming up here, every single week. And I'm at the gym. And then I want to comment, and then I don't. And then it's the next week. And I feel bad because I want to let him know that I'm there. And I think he knows that. But it's meaningful when you get comments on something, especially when you like pour your heart out on something like this. And it's like you say all these things, some things maybe people can relate to, some things maybe people can't relate to, but we all have experiences in life. And it's like when you pour something out like this, the only thing that you really hope for is that the people that are listening are connecting with it. And you don't really know that unless they comment. So I appreciate you coming back from walking the dog, which is a great time to listen to podcasts. I often do that as well. And then, leaving the comment, because I know it's kind of going out of your way to do that. So thank you for that, sir. Next one comes from Anne, long-time listener. I appreciate you sticking with us, Anne. Us being me and my multiple personalities. She says, lovely to hear your news as always. Your chat about the Iceman got me thinking. Something I've always been curious about with Americans compared to, for example, Scotland, where I'm from. Have you or Cody ever traced your family ancestry to find out when they migrated to America, where they're originally from? I'm doing my family tree just now, and we have some branches in England and Ireland, but I wondered if you had done yours. Yeah, we did. Oh, which one was it? Cody did it for me. All I had to do was spit on this thing, and then we sent it through the mail, which is really weird. I don't know if it was 23andMe or Ancestry.com, but we got our results back, and she shared those with me. I think she texted them to me, but we've discussed it. It was not super helpful. I didn't find any like long lost relatives that have also done it that live near me or whatever, but it was interesting to see the percentages, but also not very interesting because it's like, okay, so you're 12% Italian, say 13% Irish, just going on, you're this, that, and the other. And I was like, okay, but like, what does that mean and how does it impact me? I could see if you were like 50-50 and then you found like this whole family line that you had that were in Scotland, for example. But for me, it was kind of just like a big mix. German, I think, is a big one. If you're from Pennsylvania, that was a big settlement here. So it didn't reveal a whole lot to me other than the percentages. I'm going to see if I can find that for next week's episode. I can read off all the things that I am. It did give you like inklings about like things you're susceptible to, I think, in terms of medical stuff. But it wasn't super helpful in that regard either. And I didn't get a whole lot from it, to be completely honest. It would have been cool to be like, oh, you have a long lost uncle that lives, in Texas or something. I've been like, oh, that's really cool. I should reach out. But none of that really came out for me. It was just percentages. And I can't even remember what the percentages are. But I'm a little bit of a mutt, I suppose. I'm definitely not purebred anything. But that was it. It would have been interesting too to if I could have had my parents done to see what theirs were, and like you kind of trace it back further. But that's as far back as mine goes as my parents. Both of my parents were part of like adopted essentially. So the family tree is not very, very strong in our family, unfortunately. Thank you for bringing that up though. That's another rabbit hole we could go down. Next one comes from Roger. Says, great video. Roger. Great video. Just subscribed. Yes. Followed the trip. Would like to see some more RC stuff you guys did. I play with them with my 2 sons. You got it, boss. For you, Roger. We're going to be getting this thing going, and RC season is upon us, and it's warm outside. It's going to be great. So you came to the wrong place, but you kind of came to the right place too. Greg's World is a place to find all that stuff. Last one, of course, is from Ronnie, the guy that I listen to his podcast every week, but sometimes forget to comment. He says, you've mentioned buying an audio recorder in the last 3 episodes now. So here's your sign, an additional push. It's time to pull the trigger and buy it. I think it might be. I mentioned this. I want to do podcasts out in the wild. I just don't know if I'm going to have enough to talk about. In fact, I probably will, because this episode, when I was thinking about this, I was like, I don't even know if I should do an episode this week. Nothing happened this week. I've got nothing to talk about. And then when you really start thinking about it, and maybe this is a lesson for life, you might think your life's boring. You don't have anything going for yourself. But if you really sit down and you start thinking about it, you're like, you know what? There was a lot of things that happened this week. And here we are, almost 50 minutes into this episode, and somehow we found things to talk about. And there were things. There was things worth sharing. And that's how I look at life. It's life. If life's worth living, it's worth sharing. And that's what I try to do. Sometimes it's in a good light. Sometimes it's in a bad. But no matter what, it's honest and it's authentic. And that's been my recipe so far. And that's what I continue to do and will keep doing. So on that, I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. If you have anything that you'd like to add to the conversation, I welcome it with open arms. I'd love to share it next week's listener feedback. If there's something that you would like to share that's completely out there that you'd like me to address or look into, I'm down for that too, whatever it is. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a glorious rest of your day, and we'll see you or find you in the next Missing Pieces episode.